And welcome back. A very dramatic shot. You can see some of the statues there at St. Peter's Basilica silhouetted behind the sun or in front of the sun as the day turns into evening in Rome. And we're all watching this very chimney right here, including this seagull who has been camped out on top of the roof of the Sistine Chapel all day. We're waiting to see white or black smoke, most likely black smoke, the first vote, the first ballot for the next pope occurring now as we speak. We watched the cardinals file into the Sistine Chapel about 2 hours ago, and they have been locked inside ever since. Now, of course, the conclave will not end until a new pope is elected, a new head of the Catholic Church. Let's bring in the CEO of Catholics for Catholics, our good friend John Yep, back with us to talk more about it, and he's there in Vatican City. John, great to see you.
Great to see you, John. I'm right in the heart of Vatican City. You can see the street behind me. I'm in the Via Conciliazione. That is the street that leads right up to St. Peter's, which is right behind me. And you nailed it. Everyone's looking at that chimney. The crowd's all around here, including that seagull. We should be having probably what will be black smoke in, I'd say, roughly about 30 minutes. And then, so the cardinals are inside. Their cell phones have been removed. I guess almost like little children, like they've taken away their phones or electronics, right? No screen time. There is no screen time going on there, so they can make a prayerful decision on who will lead 1.2 billion Catholics.
And John, one of the things that we saw under Pope Francis is sort of a diversion inside the church, where specifically a lot of American Catholics felt like they were not represented by Pope Francis. And the question I think a lot of these cardinals are going to have to answer is, do they want to consider down that road where the church and the head of the church seems to be further away from the base of a lot of Catholics here in this country, and let's be honest, in other places around the world where there is a real hunger for the tradition of the church, or do they want to go in a different direction? Now, we know a lot of these cardinals were selected by Pope Francis. We know many of these cardinals, it's the first time they're going through the conclave process, and we don't know what's going to happen. But give us your insight on what you think is going to happen.
Here's what we're hearing on the ground. The conservative bloc of cardinals is pretty resolute on making a strong stand. There is no way that they're going to allow another Franciscan-type pontificate. And also more practically, too, even some of the more progressive-leaning cardinals, look, beggars can't be choosers. Here's the reality. There's a financial element to this whole discussion.
Yes.
The Vatican is nearly bankrupt. And a lot of their finances came from wealthy American businessmen. So it has coincided with what's called America Week, when a lot of American Catholics who are more well-off, they gather together every year in Rome and kind of look at some of the things that they can fund. Well, they're not happy. And they put their foot down and said, look, we want to see true, authentic Catholicism if we're going to open up the war chest again. And I think that's important for the cardinals to understand. They heard it loud and clear. So hopefully that will pay off on the other end when we see white smoke and a Orthodox Pope comes onto the loggia.
Yeah, there is practical or are practical considerations here. You talk about the finances, that important. It's not just the ideological factors that are playing into this role. And we saw this with both Pope Benedict, well, actually just Pope Benedict. He really did try to reform the church. One of the reasons perhaps he may have resigned, it's so difficult to do. Do you think the next Pope will face resistance to reforming the financial process inside the Vatican?
Even Francis appointed Cardinal Pell to specifically revamp the financial process. Cardinal Pell went through a lot emotionally, physically, obviously is no longer with us. So that's going to be an uphill battle, but it must be done. You're looking at behind me, like the edifice, which represents the largest continuing institution in the world. So it's a behemoth of an institution. It needs financial reform, but most importantly, it needs prayer-centered reform with Christians centered on Jesus Christ again. We've been missing that to a certain degree these last 12 years.
Mm-hmm. And, for many folks, of course, and, hundreds of millions of people around the world are tuning into this. Well, I should say more than a billion probably, because I know a lot of Catholics are watching this. There's about 1.4 billion Catholics on the planet. A lot of other folks are tuning in as well. And for non-believers out here, this is really what it comes down to, John. You just mentioned Jesus Christ. That is the motivation. That's what a lot of these cardinals are thinking about right now. what would Jesus do in this situation?
They should be. That's what it's about. Look, the cupola behind me with that beautiful sun just glistening off the top there of the church. You take a straight line down, right below, that is where St. Peter is buried. St. Peter gave his life right in this square behind me. He was martyred because of his love for Jesus. That is what it's about. So that's what, Christians and pilgrims from all over the world are gathered here, praying that we see a man of the gospel come out into the loggia in the next few days.
And so, John, we were wondering if the vote was actually taking place at 1 p.m. sharp Eastern time, which is 7 o'clock, I believe, or 8 o'clock where you are now. And so you say we should expect to see the smoke in about 30 minutes from now.
Yep, that's what's expected. And again, it probably will be black. And here's the other thing too. You'll also hear church bells ring if it's a pope, right? So black smoke, there'll be no church bells. White smoke, there will be church bells, which means we'll have a pope. And then you'll see him about 45 minutes after that. So if you get the text message, there's white smoke, you better run to your TV screen. You got 45 minutes, okay? So it's a big day.
Before we see the new pope emerge.
Come out.
And just real quickly,
right.
John, on a personal level for you, what's it like to be there?
I was here 12 years ago for the election of Pope Francis. And I remember literally hitchhiking, running about a mile, and then I hitchhiked with a kind Italian woman who drove me the rest of the way. So that's why I'm here right now on the Via Conciliazione, just to be among the people, relive the moment. And it's powerful as we wait for the Vicar of Christ to be chosen to lead us here on this in this church.
All right, John, stay in touch with us, of course. Can't wait to check in with you throughout the process. We could be here for a couple days or maybe longer. We shall see. John Yep, CEO of Catholics for Catholics. Thank you, John.